If you want to create lots of compost for your garden every 4 to 6 weeks, then you're going to need some compost bins. I built these from pallets and chicken wire. I just screwed the pallets together and then stapled the chicken wire onto it. What's nice about the 3 bins is that I can have 3 separate piles going at the same time. At 6 weeks, you can see we've got finished compost. This has gone through the screener, so we're looking at a fine, very broken down material that's ready to put directly into the garden. It's rich and aerated and full of nutrition. Your plants are going to love this. A great use of yard waste. To create a rich compost in 30 days, all you need are leaves and grass clippings. You want to use a ratio of 2 to 1. That would be 2 parts browns, such as dried leaves, and 1 part greens, such as grass clippings. Processing the materials. To help the materials to compost quickly, it is helpful to shred or mulch them up before mixing it all together. A lawnmower can do a great job at this. Okay, first step is to get all of your browns out on the ground. You want to spread them out a little bit. We're going to be laying some grass on top of that. We want to get it all blended in. Make sure that you layer the greens on top to the appropriate ratio of 2 parts browns to 1 part greens. Use a mulching lawnmower with the rear bagging system to collect all of the finely ground mulch. In order to create finished compost in as little as 6 weeks, it's important to assemble all of the materials for the pile at one time instead of adding to it on a daily basis, which just causes the composting process to start all over again. As you assemble the pile, it's important to water each layer so that it is moist like a sponge but does not drip water. It's important to make your piles around 3 feet tall in order for the compost to really get going. Within 48 hours, temperatures as high as 160 degrees can be achieved. This is important in order for your pile to break down properly and create rich compost for your garden in as little as 6 weeks. If you want to use kitchen scraps during the 6-week process, make sure to put them in the blender and break them down as fine as you can. Add water to create a slurry. So in the principle of reducing everything as small as possible to encourage composting and reduce the amount of time that it takes, I've taken all my kitchen scraps, in this case some pineapple cuttings, and I put them in the blender and ground them on down. And so now we're just going to take our pitchfork and turn them in. Doesn't have to be super deep. You just want to cover it to keep the flies away and get the material down into the compost so that it can begin to break down and help to feed the whole pile. So kitchen scraps like this are going to essentially be greens. They're going to help to stimulate all the breakdown of the brown material and end up with nice fine finished compost. This entire pile that you're looking at is at 2 weeks now, so it hasn't had that long. Within 24 to 48 hours of assembling your compost pile, it will begin to heat up naturally due to the activity of the indigenous microorganisms. You see the compost thermometer is at 160 degrees. This is as hot as you ever want your pile to get, as this is the temperature that the microorganisms begin to die off. At 2 weeks, you can see that everything has turned brown and has started to break down nicely. The pile has dropped a little bit, and the temperature has also dropped down to about 140 degrees, which is still quite active. At this point, I like to pull the compost out and mix it up a bit, perhaps even adding some grass clippings to get the temperature up and going again. Grass clippings are essentially a boost of energy for the compost pile. 1 month in, and things are really broken down. Soil has been created and it is ready to be used in the garden. I like to let it go for another couple of weeks to break down even further, but you can use it now. Okay, new compost pile update. It's been 1 month now. So we went from grass and leaves to what I would call compost mulch. Okay, there's still little bits of undigested leaves in the midst. The ones on the outside have just fallen from the trees, but you can see there's still little bits of stuff that needs to break down, but you can grow in this now. At 6 weeks, the compost is finished and it's ready to go in your garden. If you want to screen it, build a box out of 2x4s and wire mesh and run everything through there before you put it into your raised beds. Now you can make compost in just 6 short weeks. Compost that is fine and screened and ready to go in the garden, to add moisture retention, to add nutrition, to make your veggies and your flowers super happy. So no more yard scraps out to the curb. Let's all get making compost.